So, hello there, Meow Mentors. This is Cat Lady Justin, and this is the Kitty Boss, where we pick, pamper, and protect your practically perfect pussycat for a lifetime of unconditional love. And whether you're watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, or whether you're actually live with us as we record this with Dr. Rachel Geller, then I just want to welcome you. Today, we're going to talk about all things Halloween. So, when I say all things, I mean all things. Things like black cats, even. Things like, well, I know some of you like to dress up your kitties. Talk about that a little bit. We'll talk about candy, trick or treaters, you name it. We'll bring it up today. So, without further ado, my special guest, as always, once a month for our catch up is Dr. Rachel Geller. So, welcome. Everybody, welcome Dr. Rachel Geller. As always, you can leave us comments if you happen to be watching live. And if you're not live, that's okay. You can always connect with us on social media. I'm Cat Lady Justin. And of course, Dr. Rachel Geller has her own handles on various social media. And I welcome you to DM us and ask me questions or contribute. And we'll always answer them on future episodes of the Kitty Boss podcast. So whether you're live or not, we always welcome your comments. So, Dr. Rachel, welcome to the show again.
Hey,
It's
Justin.
always great to see your happy face.
Love being here, so thank you.
Yeah, so it's October, and as we record this, it actually happens to be mid-October. It's October 14th, so we are really not that far away, only a couple weeks away from Halloween and other holidays surrounding that. So I thought it would be a really appropriate time for us to discuss all things Halloween. And I know you've got a few things to say about that. So I guess the first thing I'd like for us to talk about is the obvious: Halloween, trick-or-treaters, candy, and I know a lot of people like this, dressing up your cat. So I've done it. I'm guilty of it. I've got the photos. I probably won't do it again because my cats aren't big fans now that I've captured the images. But let's talk about all that kind of stuff. So, first and foremost, we've got the issue of trick-or-treaters who come to your door. So, how would you deal with those things?
Yeah, okay, so yes, so trick-or-treaters coming to your door, present to your cat two things that many cats do not like: intermittent noise from the doorbell and strangers. So if you have a cat who is frightened by intermittent noise and or a cat who doesn't like strangers, or maybe your cat has both, I really advise creating a sanctuary room for your cat during the evening of Halloween. So, what do I mean by a sanctuary room? A room in your house where you have a solid door, you can close that door, and within that room, you'll give your cat everything that he needs for those few hours that the trick or treating is going on. So, he has his litter box, he has his food, he has his water, a scratching post, some toys, and so forth. You can even go a little further to make your cat feel safe and secure by putting a radio in that room and have some music playing softly. That will help to deflect from the sound of the doorbell and the kids yelling trick or treat at your door. So I really highly recommend, first off, if you do have a cat who does not like intermittent noise and does not like strangers and kids yelling, create a sanctuary room just for that night. Now, for Justin's second point, candy. Well, many cats have allergic reactions or could even be poisoned and die if they eat certain types of candy. And I would say probably the most common type of candy on Halloween is chocolate, and chocolate is poisonous to cats. So you really want to make sure. Now, fortunately, most cats, unlike humans, don't have a sweet tooth. So most cats, if they find, a piece of candy on the floor or they smell a piece of candy, it's not something they're going to go for. But I always say to err on the side of caution. There's always one in every crowd, and really make sure you keep that candy, away from places that a cat might be enticed to want to scratch or see what's in there, or, play with a wrapper or a packaging and possibly get to the chocolate. So chocolate has chemicals in there that are definitely poisonous to cats. So, if you notice your cat is lethargic after Halloween, maybe the cat is vomiting, maybe the cat does, you can tell the
Mm.
cat doesn't feel well, diarrhea, act again on the side of caution and bring that cat to the vet because, maybe you didn't see the cat getting into some chocolate, but perhaps he did. So, if it happens kind of in direct relation to the holiday, I would definitely call your veterinarian about that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's actually important probably to note that it's not necessarily that the cat's going to like want the chocolate. It's that it might just be playing with the little mini Nestle Crunch bar or whatever
Yes.
it is. It
Yes.
might just be having fun playing with it and as if it's thinking it's a cat toy or something because throughout the year, they're not used to seeing these little mini things all over the place, and now they are, or this bucket of mini things where they can just dive in and play with it. So it might just be completely inadvertent and innocent. And it might not, it might even be like your cat, bites into it and realizes, oh, I don't like this, but it's too late. They've already ingested a little bit of it through the taste of the stuff. So it's really important to note that it's not just you found your cat chomping or a big bite out of a Nestle Crunch bar. It's more like especially if you see teeth marks in it, you best take that little kitty to the vet. But it could be those kind of things. And then when it comes to the guests at the door, I mean, I don't like guests at my door. So so Halloween. Luckily, I reside in the UK, so I don't get too many trick or treaters here because it's not that huge, at least in my neighborhood. But I know that it's not the most fun thing to happen all night long. My cats are not that jittery. We get deliveries from Amazon on a regular basis, so mm, they're okay. They're kind of used to someone knocking at the door and that kind of thing. But yeah, if there is, it sounds like you're recommending almost like a panic room for the cat. Like if the people have a panic room and the burglar comes in, it sounds like it's almost that. So it's probably really, really good to note that yeah, your cats need a panic room because you never know what's going to happen, how they're going to react. And then there are people who have, luckily, knock on wood, somewhere, if you can hear me knocking, I do not have this problem with either of my cats, but I know people who do. Cats who are bolters, meaning they like the doors open and whoosh, they're out the door. I mean, my cats are indoor house cats. They don't bolt, thankfully. But I know lots of people who have cats who are bolters. So in this case, what would you recommend for that? Because you either just have to say, sorry, no candy at this house. And then if you're like me growing up in Detroit as a naughty kid, you TP the houses that don't give you candy. Although I would not recommend that. That is bad, bad, bad thing to do. But back in the 80s, that's what we did. So anyway, now back to today's modern world where we don't do that anymore. Still, there's a risk of you open the door. And every time the thing's going to bolt out. So what would you suggest there?
Yeah, that's another excellent reason why you really want to create that sanctuary room is that some cats, and it's not even because they necessarily want to be outside. Many indoor cats just get scared when the doorbell is going and they hear the voices and there's different sounds and different smells and so forth. So some cats will just run because they get so highly reactive to their fear, they just take off. They don't even realize that they're going outside and may get lost. Then you have those cats who maybe indoor outdoor cats and they will bolt. Then you have the cats who are just curious. I have a cat that every time I open a closet or even my refrigerator, he tries to get in. Now clearly he doesn't want to be hanging out in the refrigerator. He doesn't even know what it is, but he's a very curious cat. He sees that door open, he wants to see what that is and if he can claim it as his territory. So for all of those reasons, the safety, the cat might be afraid, you have a cat that might bolt, a sanctuary room, or a panic room, as you called it, is a really, really smart idea
Hmm.
for your cat during Halloween. And your point too about the chocolates, that is a really good point that during Halloween, they tend to sell those little super mini bites that a cat could easily
Hmm.
get into her mouth without even really maybe having to chew or bite into it. The candies, the price goes up and the candy gets smaller. But yeah, but that is a really, really good point. And then even things like candy corn that are so super tiny or hard candy, those can present a problem for cats too, because sugar is another thing that a lot of cats don't really digest well. So sugar isn't necessarily poisonous to your cat, but because cats have such a high metabolism, it could definitely cause them to get sick, to have some vomiting or some diarrhea or some lethargy. So just be really aware of those teeny tiny little candies that might end up around your house because maybe you have kids over, or maybe, you're giving out treats for Halloween. So you want to be super safe. Even the wrappers, I think you mentioned the cat might
Mhm.
inadvertently eat or bite into something he doesn't really like or even want. They're just so curious. They want to see what things are. So it's really up to us, as their caregivers to make sure the cats are protected and safe.
Yeah, and it's like I said, they might just be playing with the stuff.
Mhm.
They might not be, because those little things look kind of like cat toys. Some cat
Yeah.
toys, crumply little things. Sorry, I'm getting over a cold, so I have to mute myself every once in a while to cough. But anyway, so they're like little cat toys, and so we also need to be aware of the safety of these little things, these little whether it's aluminum or whatever it is, can be quite dangerous, can be even a choking hazard for a cat. So it's so many things around these candies are dangerous, but they don't have to be. We're not, the cats aren't spoiling your Halloween here. What they're doing is we're just saying, just get it its sort of safety room, so it's safe from strangers, it's safe from being startled, running away, safe from the candy and all that kind of stuff. You don't want your cat ending up with diabetes, so just got to be really careful with all of these things around Halloween. Now, there's another Halloween tradition that's come to mind that is quite interesting, and that is, well, pumpkins. Pumpkin is not poisonous to cats. In fact, I've seen some cat supplements or some cat food that has pumpkin in it as almost a prebiotic digestible thing that's good for them. However, when we make our jack o' lanterns, when we go ahead and excavate the pumpkin and all that, and then we insert into the pumpkin a candle to illuminate it, could be quite pretty on Halloween, but that can present quite a dangerous little item for our little feline friends. So now I don't do this because I don't know. I'm just not into carving the pumpkin, and it's messy and it's just not my thing. So I just don't worry about it. But for people who really, love this kind of thing, what would you suggest? Should they just avoid it altogether, or are there some things we can do to mitigate the risk?
Yeah, not big into the whole jack-o'-lantern thing myself either, but yes, many people are. So yeah, with any decorations, whether it's a pumpkin, a jack-o'-lantern, those like spider webby things that people put up on their homes, all of
Oh
that
yeah,
stuff
those
can,
things. Yeah.
yeah, those things are not so good for cats. I mean, they can cause an obstruction, it can cause intestinal damage, it's not good. So I always recommend, rather than using candles in a jack-o'-lantern, to use battery powered candles or lights, instead of real candles. So the last thing you want is for your cat to be curious and get burnt or inadvertently tip over that candle. So err on the side of caution and
Hmm.
use something battery operated in that jack-o'-lantern. You'll get the same exact effect. And again,
Oh yeah.
think about decorations in general. Those, like I said, those spider webby things people love to put up, but they can be harmful to cats if ingested. So, just um, use a little bit of common sense, use a little bit of precaution. I'm not trying to take away all the fun of Halloween, and know your cat, right? I mean, some cats are completely uninterested in certain things, and some cats want to touch and explore everything in your home. So, kind of plan according to how your cat is, right? So, but I
Hmm.
think the in general, some easy things to do are, if you want to use those spider webby things, make sure they're up high and out of the reach of your cat. If you want to carve a jack-o'-lantern, definitely use a battery operated light rather than an actual candle.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And also I'd encourage people to keep in mind that even if they're high and out of the reach of your cat, those little spider webby things might be attractive to your cat, and your cat
Yes.
might attempt to access them. So just be careful on that. So there's another thing, another lovely tradition on Halloween that a lot of people love, and that is that dressing up. So
Mhm.
putting on a costume. I went out once dressed as Shaun the Sheep. If anyone's familiar with that little, it's not animated; it's more like claymation. But that series, I dressed as Shaun the Sheep, and a friend of mine dressed as Little Bo Peep. So she was like Little Bo Peep and her sheep, and it was just a funny little. We made a funny pair, and so that was really really a lot of fun. We left Emily at home, obviously. So there's several issues I wanted to talk about around costumes. One of them we'll leave a little bit later, which is dressing your cat up. But the other one is you're dressed up. So now you're dressed up in a costume, and adults, like I said, adults will do this sometimes too. I haven't in a while, but it was only about 9 years ago that I did this. So I dressed up. So adults dress up, adults will put the makeup on and all that kind of stuff. There's some issues around there because if your cat, licks up your makeup, this isn't like a woman who ordinarily puts on a bit of mascara and eyeshadow. We're talking like a lot of stuff caked on to look like Dracula or Kiss or whatever. And so it's really important that we're extra cautious around these things. And of course, there's mineral makeup, but that doesn't work so well for Halloween. So, what should we do in those scenarios with our costumes, the paraphernalia, whether you're Dracula, the devil, or whatever, and um, and of course the makeup? So, what would you suggest around that?
Yeah, I would say pet your cat before you get fully into your costume. And if you are someone who likes to, some of those makeups where you have to completely change the color of your skin, like, you're doing something
Mhm.
green. Well, like you just said, Justin, there's going to be a major layer of makeup all over your skin. So, at that point, I wouldn't pick up your cat. I wouldn't try to engage with your cat because you don't want to get that makeup into your cat's fur. The first thing that's going to happen is if the cat feels any makeup in her fur, is she's going to try to lick it off. And again, that's something that's not really safe for your cat to be ingesting. So, save the affection for pre-Halloween and
Mhm.
post-Halloween in terms of the costume and the makeup. Now, if you're just using like a mask or you're dressing up as something, then it's really not a big deal. Your cat's still going to know you're you, and there's not going to be anything that will get into your cat's fur. But when you think of hair coloring and things you're spraying onto you and makeup that you're placing onto your skin, that is all stuff
Glitter.
that easily come off. Yes, and get into a cat's fur. And once she licks it, she's ingesting it, and that's where the problems can start.
Mm. Yeah, and I think that it's really important that we keep the cats safe in this.
Mhm.
Now, there are people who like to dress up their cats. So now I'm guilty of this. I dressed up my cat with some little witch hats and I took some photos of them. I haven't done it since I got those photos because the cats they didn't really love it. I've also done it during Christmas time and other periods. So I have a couple little special photos of them, and then I just left them alone for the rest of their lives. But there's people who really really like to dress up their cats. It's cute, yes, but some cats don't seem to mind it so much, and then some cats hate it. So around that topic, which is a really pertinent behavioral topic.
Yeah.
What approach should we take? Should we just is there a way to train our cats to tolerate or like this stuff, or is it just a question of if they tolerate it, great. If they don't force your cat on it because you're really perturbing them. So, what should we do for putting our cats in a costume?
Yeah, this is a great question because, there are people who just love to dress up their cats. So, in general, Halloween costumes aren't tolerated that well by cats, but follow your cat's lead. So, if you have a super easygoing cat and the cat doesn't really care, the cat's like, oh, I have a witch's hat on my head now. When's lunch? Then that's fine. But, you don't want to force your cat to put on a costume that's just going to cause your cat to be fearful, to feel distressed. So again, if you have an easygoing cat, you can do anything to that cat. They really don't mind it. That's great. Go ahead and enjoy. But you really don't want to stress out your cats. And one thing that cats find really frightening with certain costumes that humans might put on them is that they lose their agility they can't move as well, depending on what the person is doing to the cat. Maybe they can't see as well. It may even hinder their ability to use a litter box, right? Because they're not moving as smoothly because there's stuff on them that they're not used to. So you really want to make sure that even if your cat is easygoing, that the cat can still move fine, she can see fine, she can breathe fine, and so forth. But if your cat doesn't like it, just don't do it because, well, first of all, your cat's going to be terrified the entire time she has this costume on, whatever it is. And it's not going to really be great for the relationship between you and your cat. So follow your cat's lead. Cats are very good at communicating when they like or dislike something. So let your cat make that decision for you.
Yeah, I think I would do that, which is kind of why, I tested it out on the cats, got some photos and realized they don't love it. They're not that perturbed by it, but they really don't like it. So I
Yeah.
just figured, rather than try to force them into anything, we'll just leave them alone and leave well. But now there's people who go a step further, and this is pretty rare, but it's worth addressing, I think, because it can be fun. And that's people who actually will incorporate the cat into their costume. So these are people who have cats who go out with them, or they put them in a little bag. I have a little bag that's shaped like a Pokemon ball, and inside you can put the cat, and so it looks like your cat's like a little Pokemon in there. It's actually quite cute. Charlotte likes it. And so but I don't walk around with them or go for, it's really just to go to the vet. But there are people who have those kind of cats that have, are socialized. They walk around and they incorporate the cat perhaps into the Halloween costume. Now, I personally think that's not such a great idea, because Halloween presents those extra challenges we talked about before: strangers, other people, makeup, hair, decorations. It's just and the candy. It adds all these other things. So it's not the same as just going for a little walk with your cat. So do you agree with me, or am I just too strict there? Am I just too much of a cat dogma? That sounds weird, isn't it? I'm a cat dogmatist. I'm so dogmatic about cats. So we need a new word for that.
You really
A
do.
catmatic, So I'm very catmatic about it. So am I just being too rigid there with that, or not?
No, I mean, so think about um, even if your cat is very easygoing, as you're just adding so many layers of other unnecessary, I think, frightening things to happen to the cat. So cats like routine, cats like predictability, cats do not like the unknown. So if you think about taking your cat out on Halloween to, be in a costume and be going up to strange people's houses and ringing their doorbells and coming into contact with throngs of people and kids on the sidewalk, there are so many things that you're putting your cat into. You're so many things you're exposing to your cat that aren't the norm, that I think at some point that cat will be very overwhelmed, even if he's used to some of those elements. Maybe he tolerates the costume well. Maybe he's a cat who can go on a stroll with you well, but you're putting so many unknown and unpredictable things together in one delightful to you, but possibly scary evening to your cat, that I would definitely not suggest or recommend, that even for a cat who's very brave and very confident. I mean, your cat can be brave, your cat can be confident, your cat still gets stressed out by the unknown. And that scenario that you just described of having your cat be part of the costume and having your cat engage in Halloween with you, well, that's going to be an evening that's filled with the unknown, and that will really stress out your cat.
For sure. And I think, and so I guess the moral of the story here is whether your cat looks like Hermione Granger's cat, or Filch the groundskeeper's cat, or whether it's just a witch's familiar and it's just a black cat, and you think it would be cute to incorporate it into that themed costume. Don't. It's just a bad idea.
Yeah.
Don't even try it, because you might get away with it, but no matter how chill your cat is, it's gonna be a bit of a traumatic experience for them.
Yeah.
Even the chill cats that go traveling with their people and documentaries and all that, it's still gonna be a traumatic experience. Halloween is. So So the recommendation here is just don't do that. There's lots of things you can do with a cat, so we don't need to obsess about this one thing that you can't do. I think it's a pretty rare thing, so um, I won't belabor the point too much, but it was. I think it's worth mentioning because there will people who do that. So we've got a comment from our good friend who joins us now consistently, Roberta. She says, I agree. It's way too stressful for a cat, even a brave cat, and then one mistake, and the moron has lost their pet. Exactly the point we're
Yes.
trying to make. So your cat might be the chillest cat in the world, but let's say a firecracker goes off or something unexpected happens, and your cat can get lost, it can get killed, who knows? I mean, there's nefarious people out there that'll kidnap cats and use them as bait to capture dogs. So your cat could get kidnapped, not kidnapped, catnapped. So there's
Yeah.
just so many things that could go wrong there. That, like I said before, there's so many things that we can do with a cat that we just shouldn't worry about this stupid thing that we're not, that probably just don't do it. And that's the moral of that story.
Yeah, I
So
agree.
that's pretty much what I have had to discuss with you around Halloween: the decorations, the food items, the costumes, the trick or treating and strangers. Perhaps it's not even trick or treating, but a party at your house. In that
Mhm.
case, yeah, safe room for the cat is probably the best idea, especially if alcohol is flowing and cats don't need that. But also, drunk people aren't very good with cats because you don't want to accidentally crush it or do something stupid. So, all of these things are there. But there is something else around I guess it's kind of Halloween related tangentially, and that is the story of black cat. So whether it's a witch's familiar or the witch who has transmogrified into a cat, or it's just there's a lot of legends around black cats, and the whole idea that they bring bad luck is of course a myth. It developed probably during the dark ages when people were very ignorant, because cats have always been very helpful and brought good luck to mankind. They were for a long, I mean, during the plague era, in hundreds of years ago, the cats would take care of those rats that spread the plague. Before that, cats would go take care of the rodents who would eat your grain and ruin your harvest. So cats have always had a beneficial relationship with people, with humans specifically. So it's a myth that there's any kind of bad luck or anything to do with that with a black cat. But unfortunately, that myth is there and it's persisted, and so black cats are harder to get adopted. They also are statistically more likely to be abused animals, which is very sad. And so when it comes to black cats, um, is there anything else that you would add to that story, to the sort of soapbox preaching that we might be doing right now about black cats and things to consider? I mean, I have friends who have gorgeous, gorgeous black cat. I wish I could show pictures during this because one of one of these is just this petite cat, this relatively skinny petite animal, but with eyes like, I mean, I thought my Emily has big eyes. I call her an owl sometimes, but no, this cat has like, it's like a spider. I mean, it's all eye. It's like, it's such a huge, it's so cute. It's lovely, big yellow eyes too, just the perfect Halloween cat. So let's talk about black cats for a little bit and the issues around there.
Yeah, well, I have a beautiful black cat too because he's made some
Yes.
appearances on our show. So I'm going to start with the good news first. The good news is the amount of black cats who have been abused or hurt in some way over Halloween has statistically been going down, down, down over the years. So
Good.
the good news is, I think, a lot of organizations do a really good job of, education, telling people, that these are myths, and just kind of getting the word out that that black cats
Mhm.
actually need to be protected more than other cats simply because of the color of their fur. So there are adopters who will go and choose a black cat on purpose, knowing that they're going to be harder to adopt or easier to be abused. So there are several organizations that track these stats, and they've actually been going down year after year. And I think it's because of, people like us who do these programs and shelters and rescues and animal welfare organizations who really get the word out about this topic. So that's great. Having said that, I would always advise people who have a black cat not to let them out absolutely on Halloween, and not for any of the reasons we've already discussed. The noise, the cat being stressed, but for the very reason that there are people out there, sadly, who still subscribe to these myths and will harm a black cat on Halloween. So, just for the safety of your own cat, that I would recommend keeping cats indoors on Halloween, for that reason. I think that shelters do struggle with adopting out black cats still because of all the myths around black cats. Most of them are negative. And an interesting thing with all the pictures now and people taking pictures and posting them, there are even people who don't want to adopt a black cat because they think it's harder to take a good picture of a black cat for posting on social media. And, this topic has come up several times in some conferences that I've been at. And to me, it just seems crazy. But,
Yeah.
I didn't grow up with social media, so that wasn't something that was a must-have for me when I adopted a cat. But interestingly enough, a lot of young people, that's something that they take into account, that, oh, the pictures don't come out as good with the black cat. So I think that we still have a lot of work to do. It's great that you brought this topic up today, because anytime, we can get that word out, we can get people thinking about it. We can get people to think twice when they go to that shelter and say, oh, that black cat over there is so cute. He has beautiful eyes. Oh, he's so affectionate. Oh, he came right up to me. Oh, but he's a black cat. Is that going to be good for social media? Or, I mean,
I find that amusing because, it's like, what are your priorities here? I mean, do you choose your boyfriend, girlfriend like that too? Like based on how photogenic they are? And if like, I mean, could you imagine saying that to someone? Look, I am wildly attracted to you. I think you're the most beautiful or handsome creature walking the earth. But honestly, you'll look really bad in pictures. So I can't post you on social media. So it's not going to work. Sorry. I mean, could you imagine somebody so superficial that they'll say that? I can't.
I can't. I mean, it was hard for me to wrap my head around it, but I've read about it in so many studies.
Yeah.
And there's a whole generation of people who post everything they're doing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I know, and it's just remarkable because on the other hand, I think if you're a decent photographer, if you know what you're doing, you can get some amazing photos with a black cat. So I think that's more of a reflection on the skills, the photographic skills of some people being so amateur that they can't capture a decent photo of a black cat. I mean, I run into this black cat named George, who's 19 years old, who lives in the gatehouse of an industrial place that I walk by many mornings. And he's been there for long. The caretakers take care of him, and he's a lovely, friendly cat. And I get some great pictures of him, So it's like, it's just a question of what do you do? Where do you put the camera and the lighting and all that? Is black cats do not present that big of a problem when it comes to photos. That's lazy, very, very lazy. So I think that's a funny thing. But yeah, it's a new one to me. I'd never heard that one before. But it makes sense because I know there are people out there that are really that superficial that they will even choose a partner based on how photogenic they may or may not be. And I think, wow, that's I don't know how well that bodes for humanity in our future, but that's a whole other topic for another show.
Yes.
Not the Kitty Boss.
When
it comes to the Kitty Boss and black cats, we just need to emphasize that they are as affectionate as every other cat. They do not bring bad luck.
No.
They are actually easy to photograph, that you just need to photograph them slightly differently than a white cat. So that's all. It's just, but you still can get brilliant photos with them. And on Halloween, you want to keep them inside because it's just not safe. And you know what? A black cat at night anyway is going to be more at risk than a shiny, white cat because it's dark and it's going
Right.
to be camouflaged and blending into the darkness. So whether it's Halloween or not, you might want to think about the black cat at night. It might not be the best thing for it because even though, yeah, your puma out there has the instincts to be a predator at night, your little house cat there is, and your puma either actually was not built by nature to deal with cars and
Right.
traffic and things like that. So
And
it's just
safety.
something to think about when it comes to indoor versus outdoor cats. But again, I have indoor cats, and it's just how I like it to keep them safe. But I know that a lot of people will argue and say, actually, well, the cats are much happier going outside, and it's true. I'm sure my cats would prefer to be let in and out as they want. So we've got another comment from Roberta here. It says, "My buddy does stunning pics of his Burmese cats. There you go. One is black, one chocolate. He lived with them in his car after his place burned down till he got into another place." So see, like I said, this confirms that you can get absolutely stunning pictures of cats regardless of their color. Cats are specially photogenic creatures actually, it's actually much easier to get a great photo of a cat than a human, so a
Yeah.
black cat even. So I think it's just something to think about. Thanks for sharing that because that
Yeah.
just confirms what I said, that you just need to, tweak your skills a little bit, and it's really not that hard. I don't have a problem getting good photos of a black cat outside,
I
so you just need to,
We
you
live in that,
realize.
social media, instant gratification generation. And like everything else, I think the pendulum will swing both ways and that sort of will stop, being an issue. But it's interesting when when you're in the
Mm,
animal welfare world and you see, you read all these articles and you get this information. And I remember the first time I saw that, I was thinking, that seems a little crazy. But since then, I've
yeah.
actually seen other studies and, other commentaries from people in the animal welfare world that this is like a thing. So,
Mhm.
you think about a cat at the shelter and if he's black and if he's a little shy and, it's hard. It's very hard. It can be hard on black cats.
Yeah. So, black cats are cats too. I was
Yeah.
gonna try and make a pun, uh, you know, but I'm not sure how appropriate it is. I was gonna say something like "black cats matter" or something. Anyway, but it's just it's the truth is that we really need to be mindful that black cats need adopting. So I'm hoping that dispelling some of these myths,
Yeah.
uh, talking about some of the issues around black cats, and even the simple thing is photograph. Hopefully, people will just make the move to adopt the black kitten or cat, and not worry so much about these issues because we can definitely deal with them. There's definitely ways to get great pictures, and do you know what? If you can get a great picture of a black cat, if a lot of people are deciding not to get a black cat because they can't get great pictures, then actually you're going to have something a lot more unique than most people. So in a sense, you actually might want to specifically get a black cat so you can get those great pictures, and not that many people have black cats because so it there's definitely upsides and reasons to do this.
Yeah.
So
But just remember, people, we live in the 2020s, not the ancient times where we made decisions based on, myths and mythical creatures and, things like that. So,
and superstition
and
and that kind of silly
superstition,
stuff because
witches' spells,
y-
right. So
yeah.
we're good. Go ahead and adopt that lovely black cat.
We're all good with that. It's not going to turn into a witch. It's not going to curse you or bring you bad luck. I mean, my auntie Rachel was like that. I mean, a black cat would cross the sidewalk and she was on the other side. I mean, it was just like, no
Yeah,
way. And I'm
yeah,
like, what? Okay. I see a black cat and I'm like, that's good luck because any cat, when I see it when I'm walking around, is good luck for me. So when I see a cat, that brings me joy and good luck. So whether it's black, white, orange, or blue. So it doesn't actually matter.
yeah.
So I think that's those are the issues I wanted to really go over with you around Halloween. So just as a quick recap, we want to have it, oh, sorry, an easy fix with the pumpkin jack-o'-lanterns, and that is, instead of sticking a candle in there, stick a light, excuse me, stick an LED in there and you'll be fine. When it comes to the decorations, just be a little bit more cautious, of what they are and what potential hazard they're going to pose to the cat. When it comes to the candy, keep it away from the cat, because candy is not a toy. It doesn't matter whether it's chocolate, which is deadly, or sugar, which is just not good for them either. You want to keep your cats away from this candy. It's not even fun to play with in the wrapper. Their teeth are sharp. It can pierce through it and get the chemicals in their mouth that you don't want. So keep the candy away from the cat. If you're hosting a party or you have trick-or-treaters all night at your door, get a safe room for the cat. Put them in there just for the evening, and keep them away from that commotion. If you have a bolter, especially do this, because you don't want to have to keep worrying about, is my cat going to bolt out the door and be in jeopardy?
Yeah.
If you're wearing a costume, just be careful with the makeup. It gets on the cat, it's going to lick it and poison the cat. So you don't want to do that. You definitely don't want to go trick-or-treating with your cat. As cute, as tempting as it might be, like I have that backpack I mentioned that it's like a Pokemon ball. You can stick the cat in there and it's cute. Maybe you want to use that as a Halloween costume. Don't, because there are so many extra hazards. You think you're being cute, you got your cat, it's your Pokemon or whatever, because there's lots of other designs too. The risk is, if something happens, if the cat gets startled or spooked, or you do, or you fall down, let's say it's a backpack, you fall down, crush the cat, or drop the bag. There's just so many factors, and all it takes is one wrong move, one unexpected thing, and your cat could be lost, dead, injured, or something else. And we don't want that. So leave your cat at home on Halloween if you're going out. And so that's the real keys that we went over, and I wanted to reemphasize. And then when it comes to black cats, it's 2022. It's not 2000 anymore. It's not the new millennium. It's not 1980. We can give up on all of these myths and superstitions around black cats that are negative. They don't exist. It's not true. Black cats are positive, wonderful companions, just like any cat. And we need to do that. And we need to emphasize this, because if there's still a challenge, even though it's improved, in getting black cats adopted, there's still a challenge with black cats being abused. So let's get rid of that myth. You can take great photos of the black cat. You just need to mind your skills, and then you'll have wonderful photos of the black cats. So that's everything we talked about today. And I think we covered really it all when it comes to Halloween. So is there anything else you'd care to say or ask around the topic of Halloween?
Just wishing everybody a safe and happy Halloween with your cat. Follow the cat lady's advice and everything we mentioned today on the catch up, and you'll have a wonderful holiday and your cat will be safe.
Absolutely. And so for people who have, as always, we have Dr. Rachel here on the show with us. And so if you have a cat that has behavioral issues and you're thinking about potentially surrendering the cat or giving it up to a shelter, don't. Go to Dr. Rachel Geller's website, which I will spell for you for the benefit of people who aren't watching but just listening. It's www.drrachelcatbehavior.com. drrachelcatbehavior.com. You can always DM me and I'll send you the link. There's no, obviously, affiliate referral money that I get out of this, because Dr. Geller's services are free. She's on a mission to help 1,000 cats a year stay in their homes, just like I'm on a mission to get 1 million more cats adopted. She's on a mission to keep them in their homes. So drrachelcatbehavior.com is the place to go for if you have a cat that has behavioral issues and you need help with the cat. It doesn't cost a thing. And even better, she's got this all cats all the time, ACAT, via her website, which is a nonprofit organization where if you're struggling with the costs around a cat, we remove that barrier as well. So go ahead and check it out, and definitely it's via her website here. So that's what I wanted to make sure I always plug Dr. Rachel Geller, because a more benevolent cat behaviorist and chaplain you will not find, because there are brilliant ones out there, but Dr. Geller does this for free, and there's no competition either, because there's just so many cats out there and so many people out there, and so there's an abundance of customers for everybody. So there's behaviorists that are brilliant that charge money. Go to them if you can afford it, and if it's a problem with you, then talk to Dr. Rachel Geller. You can have a consult virtually or live in person if you happen to be near her area on the East Coast of the USA. That's great too. So thank you very much. This was the Kitty Boss. I'm Cat Lady Justin. We pick, pamper, and protect your practically perfect pussycat for a lifetime of unconditional love. And I suppose during Halloween, it's more about protecting your cat properly for that lifetime of unconditional love. So thank you, Dr. Rachel, for joining us today. It's been great catching up with you. Next month will be the month of November, so you can probably guess where I'm going to go with that one and our topic of discussion for the month of November. So thank you very much. Happy Halloween to everybody.
Thank you.